Hey everybody! I thought I'd switch it up this time with a little bit of puzzle streak. Um, and I'm gonna have to try to be mentally disciplined and not just immediately play the moves. I tried this once before, and I got impatient. But here, when you do a puzzle, you should look at the checks followed by captures and then any attacks. Here we get one discovered check, which is when you move this pawn, it opens the line of attack on the king. And now if you're black, you'd have to think, or you'd have to consider any check, capturing the bishop, which is impossible. Nothing captures the bishop. If anything can block, which there's one option, the pawn moves forward, or if the king can move out of the way. And unfortunately for the king, there's no moving away because the attack comes this way. The g7 square is also hit, and then the pawn covers g8, while the rook protects the pawn on h7. So that only leaves e5, to which we just capture with the bishop, and that should be mate. All right, here. Let's see. All right, so the king is on the back rank. The only checks are to move the queen here and here. They give a check. And the problem with going here on a8 is that the queen would just capture us, and then we're just lost. However, if we go to d8, the king would move over here to h7, unless they block the queen, but that would just lose them the queen. And then we could pick up the bishop on d3. And it's very important to note that this comes with another check, because our king is also on the back rank, stuck behind these pawns, and if the queen making this maneuver didn't come with a check, then the queen on c6 would be able to go down and give us mate. We're very fortunate that the tactics work out. Now in this case, I don't see any immediate checks. The next options are captures, to which I see two. Now, if we capture the knight first, the queen would capture our queen, we recapture, and then the bishop or the pawn recaptures the bishop, and material's even. On the other hand, if we capture the queen with our queen, the knight recaptures, our bishop can capture their bishop with an attack on the rook. The rook moves away, our bishop can retreat back, and we're doing well. Okay. In this case, the checks, none of the checks seems to work. These checks are all covered by the king. This check is also covered by the king and this pawn. And going here and here are also covered by the queen and the rook. And that's all we have as far as checks go. As far as captures, we can capture this pawn. And yeah, we win a pawn, but it's not that much. If we look at attacks, well, the most powerful piece is his queen, and the most straightforward way of attacking it is with our rook. And we have two options. Moving our rook to c1 would just lose it to the queen. However, moving it to b7 is actually quite diabolical, because the queen would not be able to escape because she's pinned to the king, and the rook is supported by the queen on e4. So the answer is to move here, pick up the queen, and we move on. Alright. Let's see. I don't see any immediate checks. Both of these look dubious. Checks, captures, attacks. I don't see any captures either. Moving the knight here or here does attack the queen. So let's think about it. Of the two, this move looks more natural because it covers the c3 square, which would otherwise be a potential escape with check option for the black queen. If you go here, no one can stop this. But is that good enough? Let's see. Let's say the queen moves here. Now what? Well, if the knight gives this check here, it's a fork. If the queen captures, this queen can it X-ray defends it. And then alternatively, the king just moves out of the way. We exchange queens as they're more valuable, and then we pick up the rook. So I think knight e4 is our correct option. Queen moves this way. I don't think that changes our calculations. We just pick up the rook, and we should be good to go. Sorry, I'm just double checking. It looks good. Looks good. Okay. The knight jumps over here, attacking our rook. The immediate option I see, of course, check doesn't work. But if we move the rook to b6, it pins the knight to the king, and there's no way for the king to get close enough in time to preserve the knight. So I think this has to be the first move. We pick it up with check, and then we go on to win the game. Alrighty. Immediate check. This one screams out to me. Rook takes f7. King cannot run here because of the queen. Here or here because of the queen. Here because of the rook. That just leaves this square. To which I believe queen takes e6 is just mate. And it works out. Alright, so we're black. And immediately I see, well, not immediately, it took me a minute. I see that this rook is on the same diagonal as the bishop. So if I go here, this rook is unable to move. It is pinned on this diagonal. And we can pick it up. And that seems to be the right move. Alrighty. The bishop protects the knight. The knight and the queen both target f2. So queen captures f2 with a check. The king is unable to escape here or here because of the queen, here because of the bishop, here or here because of the queen, and so that is their only remaining move. So let's see. Check here. I would take here next, and that's mate. Because from here, this square is covered by the queen, this square is covered by the knight, and this square is covered by their pawn. Alrighty. Now here I notice that we have a little battery going on, and it hits at the king. And that's really important because that means if we capture this pawn with our queen, and let's say the king just moves out of the way, we capture the rook and checkmate. Now if instead we capture here, and the rook takes instead, it is now pinned to the king by our bishop. Therefore, we can move our rook down or up to c1. That's a check. The rook is unable to block, and that should be game. Alright, king moves here. Kind of an endgame position. Important to note what opposition is. So opposition is if we move the king up here, it means that there's no forward progress for the opponent king because we create a little force field up in front of their king. And so their king would have to either retreat back, which is losing because this pawn falls, or step to one of these sides, to which we can infiltrate on the other side, like this, and we'll go on to win the game. Here, only real checks are here and here. Here, the rook captures, and we're losing. But if we move our queen here on a3, that's a check. d2 is covered by our knight, meaning the king has to go to b1. And then from b1, our knight can jump to c3, give a check, and then the king would be forced to move to a1 because b2 and c1 are covered by my queen. And then once the king is on a1, the queen can then take the pawn on a2, and that would be checkmate because of the support from the knight on c3. There's a mouthful. Oh my gosh. I don't have any water near me. Alright. So, my first thought is there's some tactic here with the bishop giving a check. So let's consider if rook captures, knight captures, check. But the knight takes it back. So that doesn't seem to work out. Alternatively, maybe we can just capture the rook and say, hey, we're up a bishop. Is there any threat? It seems good. It seems good. I think that's correct. Alright. Now here, I would love to just go capture here, checkmate, but too bad. This rook on g1, prevents our wonderful plans. However, what if we capture the bishop? The king has no escape options, and when the rook captures, this rook becomes a target to our queen, and it's undefended. So, So take. And then the best move on white side would be to block with one of these pieces. But at that point, we pick up a rook and a pawn for a bishop. And that's good enough to solidify our advantage. Alrighty. Here's a very simple mate in 2. Queen goes to h8. Back row mate supported by the knight. And the king has no escape options. No piece can block. The only piece that can do anything is this bishop on f6. It can capture. However, then the rook recaptures. And again, with the support of the knight, the rook would have checkmate. Alright, we see in this position, sorry, I'm trying to calculate real quick. I don't see the win yet, so let's talk it through. Our checks are one of these 4 moves. Rook here seems to just lose the rook for nothing. And we have no follow-up, so I don't think that's the correct move. Queen moving to the first row. Okay, so queen moving to f1 seems like it's the best option. Because if the rook blocks, we just take it. If the bishop blocks, we just take it. If the queen blocks, well, we don't take it, but we capture this rook instead. And if the king moves, then we can capture this rook anyways. It is undefended. And that would solidify the advantage. And that's the answer. Alright, here we have to notice that the king is pretty precariously located, especially with this rook ready to jump on the back row. But for now, it has an escape option on h2. So to cover that off, I believe king g3 would block off any escape route. The rook is unable to bother us because of this pawn. Thank you, e-pawn. And the king would not have time to run away before our rook can deliver the killing blow. I see. Okay. So once again, the king and the bishop have this, they share the diagonal. meaning that this pawn does not actually defend the knight. So I can capture the knight for free. Well, not for free, because the bishop gets captured. But then now my queen can capture the pawn that used to be pinned, and it's a checkmate. Okay. It looks like one of our pawns will have to break through and get to the end. And the obvious solution would probably be to move this pawn forward, captures. Their pawn captures, not the king, because this pawn supports. And then instead of recapturing, that would just allow the king to capture back, and the best we can hope for is a draw. Instead, after captures, we push. And actually, their own pawn plus our well-placed bishop would prevent their king from getting back in time to prevent the promotion. Alright. Let's see. Okay, I think I see it. Here we have a few checks. We actually have two that seem pretty tempting. But the one I looked at first was rook to g1 check. I looked at it first because it was a bit more forcing. And also because after the king moves to f8, the other option would be to block with the rook, but that just loses the rook, and the attack continues. After this, rook back, check. The king again has only one option, which is to move up here, e7. Rook back over to e1, check. And actually, there's nowhere for the opponent to run their king. d6 blocked by this pawn. This row is blocked by the rook. Back, and this row is blocked by my other rook, meaning they can only block with their knight or their rook, either of which would just get captured. So check, 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 and the game will conclude momentarily. Alright, I think this will come down to trapping the queen. I just need to see how that can be accomplished. Because their king seems pretty well defended, and their queen seems a bit exposed. The only real option is to move here. No, it's not. So rook e2, and I think there's nowhere for their queen to run. Yep. Alright. First thought is maybe there's some idea with this pawn. Otherwise, maybe we move the knight away and try to do something funny this way. So let's see, check. King would have to move back. Yeah, we take this, and these pawns will fall, and that should be it. Okay. If the king goes here, I don't think that changes anything. We capture, they capture, we capture. Maybe they move up or something. Could we do better? I'm not sure, but it seems like the best option. Let's see. Capture, capture, capture. Yeah, I think it's winning by force. Their bishop is really bad, so takes, yeah. Alright. Maybe that's a little floppy of me. But you know. Alright, here I think we capture, they recapture. And then I think we actually have the option to capture this pawn. Perhaps there's something better though. The point of capturing the pawn, of course, is that it's pinned to the rook, and then the rook is under attack. But then if they move away, we can give a check, and it seems unpleasant to them. Okay, they chose to give up the rook. Maybe I need to be better about calculating everything thoroughly. I'll have to do that. Okay. Now, initially, my thoughts were, hey, these guys are on the same diagonal. But it doesn't seem to work. This square is, oh no, is covered by the queen. And of course, this square is covered by the king himself. So that will not do. If the queen goes here, these squares are covered by the queen. This square is covered by the king. These squares are covered by my pawn. This square is covered by the queen. It's checkmate. Good heavens. Okay. In this case, it looks like a checkmating threat. Check. The king would have to move over here. That's the only option. Check, and that's mate. The rook is defended by the knight, and the other knight prevents the king's alternate forms of escape. What happened? We lost our rook. Oh no. However, we can give this double check, and the great property of a double check is that the only way to escape it is by moving out of the way. And from these angles, plus these two unfortunately placed pieces, the king can only run to h1. Following h1, the rook can go to h2, supported by the bishop, delivers checkmate. Alright, the pawn pushes. Oh, excuse me. I think the idea here is not to exchange the pawn for the rook, because these pawns are quite deadly. We'd be banking our hopes on this pawn. I don't think there's enough time. So, alternatively, I think we need to block the rook's defense, which I think is only achievable with this knight check. After the king moves, block, and the rook would be unable to prevent the pawn's promotion. Alright, check. I'm pretty sure it's just, check, force the king away, capture that, and we're good to go. Ooh, tricky. However, the king supports the rook if we move it to g2, and then the rook would be attacked twice. So even though the king sort of defends it, it's just overworked or overpowered. Okay. Black to move. Oh, excuse me. Black to move. What can we do? Can we not just push the pawn? Pushing is almost certainly the right choice. Alright, they're threatening mate. And now I think in this point we have to give the check. And wherever they move, we don't immediately capture, but we freed ourselves from the checkmate, so then we can promote our pawn in peace. We're good to go. Alright, we're in check. Two options. Never mind. This option sucks, so we move out of the way. After we move out of the way, that does open the door to 2 other checks. But we can block with a pawn. And meanwhile, while all of this is happening, their king is actually under some pressure himself. And this knight is also under a lot of pressure. The knight should fall, and the king will probably fall shortly afterwards. Now in this case, we have to be careful. If we just quickly grab the knight, the queen, supported by the rook, can capture, leading to checkmate. So one possibility is to capture with the bishop. Is there any other ideas? Oh, excuse me. Why am I so tired? Anyways, I think it's the right idea. Yep. Oh man, why am I so tired? I'm sorry. Alright, now I see a fork. If we move our queen to h5, it both attacks a knight and threatens to capture h7, checkmate. And there's no way to protect both. The knight can only, if it jumps here, that does protect both. Let me think about that. Boom. Goes here. We continue to add pressure this way. If they block, we can capture. I need a moment. I'm still pretty sure this is the right option. Although I guess this is also a move. No, it's not, because then... Yeah, wait a second. They could just do this anyways. Because the queen protects the knight. You silly guy. Let me think. So yeah, originally I was thinking... Sorry about that. I was thinking queen to h5. It's kind of a double threat, but the knight's not even under attack. Plus the knight can block. So, this is probably some sort of Greek gift. Check. If the king captures. If the king recaptures. We give a check. King would have to move back. Go with the knight, and there is no defense or escape. Yeah, no escape. Okay. What if they don't take? Then queen can go here. And how would they prevent... How would they escape? Like if they go here, check, mate. If I go here, here, here. I just take it. I mean, yeah. Very good. Very nice. They block checkmate, but only by giving up their queen. Okay. In this scenario, oh, excuse me. Oh man, I really need to. I need a nap. Okay. The knight is actually protected by the bishop. This pawn is very well protected. Any attack on the back rank allows the king to step forward. So I don't see any immediate wins. There is an interesting idea, like maybe the rook can jump back at some point if we need, but sorry. What if we give this check? Knight hits the king. King has 2 options. If the king steps forward, We can give a check. King can't keep moving forward, obviously. It just leads to mate. If the king steps back, then I mean, it just looks so unintuitive to step forward to begin with. Let's quickly look at the other way to see if there's any, if it's worth looking at further. If they step forward, I was thinking maybe the queen can go here. The king would then only be able to block by pushing the pawn, and that is mate. Okay, so then they would have to step forward to avoid that. But then what? But then queen to h8 is checkmate. Yeah, so this is first mate either way. Very nice. Well, I just need to be careful. Okay. So, a couple ideas. I think rook captures the pawn on g7 is the most forcing. Cannot be captured because the rook is pinned. So the king can either jump or run away to f8 or h8. On f8, I feel like the rook can just move back. Check. The rook can block. If the bishop then captures, the other rook would recapture. And then we could give a check. I don't think that's the right line. We have to end the game immediately because queen captures f1 is mate. I'm pretty sure this is a move, but again, I want to do this properly, or as properly as my brain will let me. We take. Let's do the easy one first. King steps away, check, mate. Okay. So that leaves f. Whoops. Oh my gosh. Please. Okay, that leaves f8. Oh, we can just capture the rook. And it's a double check. King can step back. We could give another double check. Yeah, it's mate. Or if they go here again. Check. Wait. Boom, 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 boom. There has to be a mate somewhere. Wait, I just want to get this right. I want to get this right. Check. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. I see now. All that just for them to move to h8. Alright. Triple check. Yep. Okay. Oh man. Okay. What is the play here? They are threatening mate in 1. Let's just be aware of that. Is there any possibility of maybe f5? Is the queen trapped? I don't think so. Covered by the knight and the pawn, covered by the bishop. It can run here or here after this move. I'm pretty sure it's the right move to begin with. It's the most forcing line, and it prevents the checkmate. I think queen f3 seems like the better reply. Oh, but then oh no, never mind. Oh yeah, we can then just pick up the bishop. Same thing if the queen runs that way. Okay. Easy enough. Alright. Cool. Ah, okay. Check. King steps to f2. Only move because the knight protects. Knight captures the knight with a check. Also hits the queen. Cannot be taken by the rook because the rook is pinned to the king. So check, check. Now the last thing, do we bother taking this pawn first? The advantage, of course, is that if we just capture the queen, rather than recapturing, the rook would capture our queen first. So we give a check, maybe they block, but we can capture with tempo and then pick up the queen. So this seems to be the right play. Okay, we get a check. Okay. My first thought was, oh, block with the queen, capture, knight captures rook. King can at least recapture and, maybe we're okay. Except we're not okay. We'd be down the exchange. So, instead of that, and of course, right, blocking this way, we just lose the queen. That's even worse. But, you know what? We're threatening queen captures bishop. And then this rook drops at the end. So, what if we move the king to, say, d1? If knight captures rook, we capture the bishop. And then maybe, even if the queen blocks, we exchange the queens, we capture the knight, we pick up 2 pieces for the rook, which is a net benefit for us. Are there any other moves? There would also be bishop moving here, check. It seems right. I'm doing it. Okay, we didn't have to calculate. All's forgiven. Alright. Now, I kind of want to go here, here, or here and throw in checkmate. Problem is, going here, oops, we lose the bishop. Here or here, we don't lose the bishop, but they can block, or they can even protect this way. Is there a better option for us? Well, if we go here, they block the checkmate. Now our rook slides to a1, and the queen has nowhere to go. And it's correct. Okay. Seems like it's a check. Check. We pick up the queen via a pin. Seems correct to me. Alright, rook jumps there. Check. Or maybe check? Oh no, absolutely not. Check. Check. Slide down there. But then they don't have a perpetual because if the queen gives a check to, have perpetual, the knight can just capture it. There's no great defense of the bishop. I believe this is correct. Okay, and now I have to be careful. What do I do here? Pretty sure it's king right there. Their only follow-ups would be to sacrifice one of their major pieces. Either way, we're happy camper. Alright, we're in check. No, we're not in check, but our rook is pinned. And we have to be careful. Because next turn they would capture, and turn after that give us checkmate. Now, first thought is to give a check. If the queen recaptures, the knight will fork and pick up the queen. Is that the best we can do? Maybe we can do better. I don't think we can do better. I was also looking at if they move their king out of the way, then we just give checkmate, supported by the knight. Yeah, because, right, we can't move this rook. If we give this check first, which is the other way to do things usually, look at the reverse move order. Queen captures, maybe. I mean, like, that's not great. Is there anything I could do here? I don't think so. There's something I can do here. I hope you... I don't know if you can hear the rice cooking in the background. Let me close the door. I hope that's not as loud. Otherwise, I'm going to have a very, you know, unfortunate video for you guys. Okay. I think rook to d3 is the most logical. Supports the pawn. Otherwise, it could just be pushing the pawn, but then the rook slides behind. That's not great. And in general, you want to put the rook behind the pawn to support its advance. And also, let's see, if they block. Okay. Then we can pick up this pawn. And yeah, we get opposition at the end, so that's correct. I probably didn't need to do all that, but you know, whatever. Anyways, our knight's attacked, but you know, I kind of like this move. It's cool because, oh no, we sacrificed the knight, but then boom, checkmate. Alternatively, if they capture the rook, then oops, we pick up their queen via a royal fork, actually. No, not a royal fork. The rook would be here. Is there anything else? Obviously, it's not this, because it's just an exchange. What if they just move the... Oh, yeah, even if they just move the... What's it called? The knight out of the way. The fork still stands. And if they move the queen to, you know, hold everything together, we can still give the check. And there's still, like, you know, we pick up the rook. So it seems good. Yay. Okay. I'm starting to lose steam. You know, I think you could sense it. Let's see. I kind of like the idea of giving a check. And then, boom, that's mate. Okay. This move seems attractive. Although, it allows certain counterplay. If I go here... Oh, whoops. Oh, but if I go here... I am threatening this kind of infiltration. I don't think it leads to anything, though, which is a problem. It doesn't seem to lead to anything. Okay, but let's look at it this way. If they preemptively block it and capture a queen infiltrates in, it's very unpleasant for our opponent, if nothing else. So I do kind of like the option for that reason alone. And again, if like the knight captures, we can always do this, give the check, force the king back probably. What if we did this first? Is that crazy? Seems crazy. Yeah, it doesn't seem good. Okay. Let's see. Knight here. None of it seems to work. Okay, let's see. I'm debating mostly between these two moves still. I think any other move doesn't make that much sense. If we move the knight back, they can just, I don't know, not that, but they can just cover it in some way. If we go here, I mean, the problem is, or one of the problems is, I don't even see what we gain. Right? Like, we give check, we can capture, and like, that's sweet, but it doesn't seem to be just winning. Same thing going this way. And moving to g5 also impedes our queen's vision of f6. So I don't like that move either, for that reason. So I do like knight e5 the best, but it still doesn't seem great. Like, I don't know, we go here, and then... Do we have any checks? It sucks, and this one also seems to suck, so... Yeah. And they can even just block like this. And then even if we infiltrate, they just go there, and then what? It just doesn't make sense. What if the idea was to go here, force a reaction of this pawn, like let's say moves forward 1, then we jump back, and then we have 3 pieces eyeing that square. They can push forward, and I don't see anything. I don't see the follow-up. Oh, wait a second. Hold up. If I go here, or no, I think I have to go here. No. Wait, if I went here, what was I saying? If I go here... I was hallucinating something, I think. I was thinking like, you know, capture, and then capture, and then capture. If the king captures, we can like slide in and pick up the queen. And then if the queen captures, I saw something. I was seeing something. Wait. If I go here... No, I see. Okay, so if I go here, pawn pushes, rook captures. That's a check. They have to respond in some way. King can capture because the knight supports it. If the queen captures, they lose the queen for a rook and a knight. And if the rook captures, then we go here, and it's a fork of the king and the rook and the queen, king and queen. So we get a check. Okay, pick it up. Oh my gosh, I'm tired. Alright, first thought is, hey, why don't we just build up the pressure, right? That looks like it wins us, say, a knight. Am I wrong? If we go here, there's no check with the knight. If they go back, we capture, takes. Seems good enough to me. Okay. Let's see. I like this move. I also like this move. This move also seems interesting. So let's think. If I go here, king can only go here or here. They probably go here to h8 because h7 would allow rook d7 to come with tempo, and I don't think they want that. And then what? We can push, hit the rook, and then pin the rook to the king. Okay, yeah, we force the promotion. Or we pick up the rook. Ooh, but we have to be careful because this pawn is also right here. So I need to be a bit careful. And if they move to h7, I get the rook here, and then they're forced back, and then I can push anyways. They have to. Let's assume they just move here immediately. I push forward. They can't promote because I'm threatening to capture with check. Capture, promote with check, and mate. So they have to defend that first. Then I can move down. They still don't have time to promote, I think. Because if they did, I capture, they move out the way. Honestly, then I can just recapture their promoted pawn. So that's not an issue. Check. If they move their rook down so I can't capture, then I give the check. They move out the way. I would probably then sacrifice the rook to promote to a queen, and then give checkmate. And then, let's see, did I miss anything? If they move the rook here, I give a check. I mean, I just pick up the rook. So even if I have nothing better than to go back, lose my pawn, but pick up theirs, I still win a rook. So I think that's correct. They move to h8, so I push. Then I pin. Okay. Moment of truth. Taking is free, and it's good enough. Okay. Let's see. I don't see any great checks except for rook. Rook g8 check. That allows king here, 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 or here. So let's see. If the king goes to f3, queen g4 would be mate. If the king goes to h1, queen takes knight is mate. Same thing if king to f1, we capture and that's mate. That just leaves king to h2. Except it can't go there because the bishop blocks. So it's mate in 2. Mate in 3, I guess. Let's see. If I capture. There has to be something. Give me a minute. Check. Oh no, okay, so if they go here, this would be checkmate, except they can give up their queen, but that's still good for us. Oh my gosh, okay. And if they move back, we just kind of corner them into mate. That's wrong! Son of a... Okay. Let's see. So what's... get this out of here, get this out of here. I can't... okay, I'm just going to ignore it, I'm just going to ignore it. There we go. No, it's still telling me stuff. Ah, okay, whatever. Okay, I didn't pay attention. Alright, what's wrong with this move? So, if we capture... Let's say they capture. Did I miss something? Now I was thinking capture back with the queen. That definitely would force the attack. The queen sack, I mean. If you go here, they can't run. If you go there... Oh, if I went here, the knight would capture. Could that be what I missed? What if I went here? Chuck, boom. And yeah, I think that's what I missed. Let's see. If I went here, knight captures, I capture. If they went here, right, knight goes there and twinning. If they go here, then they just escape. They escape with a draw. Wait, so capturing with the... For some reason, I thought this would be more threatening, but yeah, they lose it to the... Huh, okay. Yeah, and I still can't run away. If you run away, that's check, and then checkmate. Okay, that's poor calculation on my part. Oh my gosh, that's a long video. I'm gonna call it there. I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm sorry for my coughs. Hope it was enjoyable, and I'll try to beat 45 next time. All right, bye.